one piece missing to all that, right? You can get the toolkit, but if you don't have the confidence to open up that kit and use the hammer and use the screwdriver, then the toolkit's great. It's awesome. You read all about it. You know what to do with it, kind of, but you don't have it within you. You don't have that courage to actually start building that damn house or building that career, or building that relationship. And so I got a lot of feedback from people saying, Ryan, your book changed my life. I know how to sell now. I know what to say. I can walk into any room. I get it. I can't open my mouth. My stomach, I have a pit in my stomach. My palms are sweaty. I'm not you, right? The guy in my office, he's too good. I know that I can be better, but I don't know how to be better. And so big money energy is that secret sauce for me. And I didn't think I was going to write another book. I don't really have the time, right? I lead a real estate firm in New York City. I sell real estate all day long. In 2 minutes from now, actually, I don't know when this is going to air, but I'm closing on the most expensive house in the history of Florida and the second most expensive house in the history of the United States for $140 million. I don't have a whole lot of time to sit there and write books, but I did during quarantine.
How about the seduction of success? How have you handled those moments in time where you have shown up, you have put in the work, you have had the growth, to where that self-talk that we talked about earlier comes in and almost holds you back from moving forward? What have you done to keep thinking bigger, to keep growing, to come up with new ideas? Because most people get seduced by success. Well, that's enough, so I'll stop. And so now, how have you handled that in the past, that seduction of success?
Well, from my perspective, I haven't succeeded yet. So I'm still on the way. So I like, for example, like if you...
So that's actually the answer. So the highest performers in the world, they're not seduced by success. See, that's the key.
Well, I haven't succeeded yet. I might be seduced once I get there. But to me, like, think about it like this. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you want to go to the bathroom. So you get up and you head to the bathroom, right? And then someone, comes along and says, well, why didn't you just stop in the kitchen, take a pee? Why didn't you? What kept you motivated to get all the way to the toilet?
I had to take a pee.
Well, that's where you're heading. See what I'm saying? I'm not going to stop in the kitchen and take a piss just because I can. Like people say, what keeps me motivated? I'm not there yet. So when you said that question, to me, it's like, I haven't succeeded yet. So I'll let you know once I have, and then maybe it'll seduce me.
You were born with some unique giftedness that is special to you, blessings and gifts. There's 2 or 3 of them that are really special to you. And what you do is you discount them because you've walked with them all your life. You don't think they're a big deal. So when you look at an athlete who's, Kobe Bryant, when he was alive, 6'6", could windmill dunk a basketball, jump out of the gym, shoot, fast, agile. You go, well, that's a gift. Or you listen to Ben speak, you're like, okay, his oratory skills, that's a gift. But mine, I don't really have anything special. But what you don't understand is you were wired with 2 or 3 gifts. That's what you need to believe in. And you already know what they are. If you're being really honest, it could be your kindness, your intellect, your humor, your nurturing ability, your listening skills, problem solving, your intuition, your resiliency, your toughness, your humor. It could be all kinds of different things. But when you identify what those 2 or 3 gifts are, okay, you will then believe in you if you use those gifts in the service of other people. All Ben and I do is we took our 2 or 3. We don't have 50. I guarantee you I don't have 50. I got like 2 or 3, man. No pun intended. I have maxed out the 2 or 3 God's given me because I figured out what they were, and then I've used those gifts in the service of other people. That's why we don't get tired. That's why we're happier. It doesn't mean we don't have bad days. We don't get down. We don't get sad. But I can always go back to go, you know what? I am somebody who's been given a level of intensity and passion that's pretty special. I am a guy who can really focus.
It's so many chances to quit. And in your body, you should recognize that the easiest thing to do is more likely what your flesh wants to do, right? To quit, give up, stay asleep, snooze the alarm. But when your body has to resist against something, and I think that for me, I've had so much resistance, whether it's gangbanging, fighting, like you said, walking up and down the street, looking around like, what the fuck am I? I don't want to be here no more. Like, how do I get out of this place? And on my way in here, I went live. I said, yeah, I am going to flex a little bit, and you guys should. You don't flex and make it a part of your life, but Don't just only show the losses. Don't just only show people, the setbacks. Show them the comebacks and show them, God is a real thing. Because like you said, I used to be fucking broke as fucking 2 pennies trying to smear together and make a nickel, but I made it happen. My mom made it happen. We understood the quality of life, and I never gave up. I never quit. And I just look back at that moment. I remember where my head was at that time. I was committed to fucking finding a way at that point. I was like, I'm out this bitch. That's all I can think. I'm out of here. I'm not finna die. I'm not finna get shot up. I'm not finna be gangbanging, selling dope all my life. And that's all I saw. But I had to see something that wasn't there. And that's what...
Every person listening, you, me, we all get to choose what goes on right here. And, as maybe as simple as I'm making that sound, I think there are a lot of people, first and foremost, that have just never been taught this. I know when I was younger, nobody ever talked about what was going on in my head. I had to kind of figure it out myself, and I think that's what motivated me to take my career path, was to really understand how the brain worked and why it worked against us in so many cases. But the main thing is, everybody gets to choose the thoughts in our heads, and if we can learn to choose the right thoughts, which we can, we know this, that mental toughness, it's abnormal, but everyone can learn it. If you can learn to choose the right thoughts, you learn to control the way you feel and the way you behave. And if you can learn to control the way you feel and the way you behave, you learn to control for the success in life, whether that be your health, happiness, financial success, however you define it. You get to decide and you get to choose where you end up.
It's one of those things, like, you got heart, you got guts, you got fight in you.
Yeah.
That's why you're achieving what you're achieving. But those are the things that I remember. It's the hard work, but then it's the mindset that you have.
That's crazy, because I remember that vividly too, that game. And I remember coming up to you because I was like, he's such a good speaker. What if he could just speak it into me? Like, what if he could say something to make the pain go away? Because I knew, like, you had that. So yeah, I remember that. But nah, bro, it was just too much. Like, the few days leading up to that game, it was just getting worse and worse. So by that time, it was impossible to play. But you were in my corner the entire time through the rehab process, then going into the draft. And then, our relationship kind of changed, because I reached out to you one day and I was like, man, I'm going through this. I forget what it was, but I was like, could you just send me messages daily? This was, years ago, bro. I was like, can you send me messages to encourage me daily? And ever since then, every single morning, I wake up to a text from you. I don't think you've missed one morning, saying something motivational, something for the day. And that's unbelievable, because I mentioned it one time, and I know a lot of people, they will, like you talk about it all the time, they'll talk the talk, or they'll say, yeah, I'll do this for you, whatever, but then they never follow through, or they might for like a week. It's been every single day. Like, how did you get that consistency about you, or just that routine? I mean, like, those texts are coming in at 2 or 3 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you?
My favorite texts are the ones where you say things to me like, bro, what time did you go to bed last night? Bro, what time did you wake up today?
It's unbelievable.
Well,
Man, I want to say I appreciate you very much. I think the world of you. That praise means so much to me. Thank you so much for saying that. I want to ask you one thing before you go. I think this fire, though, that you're talking about, that will not go out in you, that will not go out in me, I think that we need to stoke that fire, though, right? It's not just there. Like, you and I, we get up and there's intentional living and there's conscious energy and effort. And we know this from everybody we talk to. Anybody who's ever achieved anything, this ain't autopilot, man. We know there is no hack. There is no shortcut. There is no magic pill. A doctor can't write that prescription. If there were shortcuts, maybe you and I would find it. I don't know any other way but to grind. So I think that there is a fire, but I think we have to continue to put logs on that fire, right? We have to do the work. Otherwise, you're not getting up at 2:24 in the morning. And by the way, I know you do, because when I get those messages from you, they're like at 2:28 your time. So this fire is not building and maintaining itself, right? We need to do the work. We got to pay the price. And we are. And people do. And it's possible.
You know, so you don't have to be great at this right now, and you don't have to be great at this 100% of the time. Like, I fail all the time. I fall off the mental toughness wagon all the time. And it's not about being perfect. Mental toughness is about being better able to get back on faster. So that mental chalkboard that you were referencing is such a great concrete tool to wrap your mind around to help you do this. And so if you basically, let me kind of outline it for people. If you opened up your brain, you opened up your head, you would have a problem side and a solution side. And this problem side, we're all really, really good at. We're all experts at our problems. We probably have it all kind of filled in. We'd have writing in the margins, you writing really small to fill in all that focus that it's really normal for us to focus on problems. Now, we also know that which you focus on expands. And there's a theory in psychology called expectancy theory. That which you focus on expands. So the more you're focused over here on this problem side, your problems are going to grow.
Mine is the positive nature of my mom, but I'll tell you, I got some of that nasty side to me. I've got some of that to me where somebody tells me I can't do something and you want to go to a deep, dark place, like, we can go there. I don't think you want to go there with me, but we can go there. So I respect that from you. But what advice do you have for that person who's probably listening saying, I'm in that place where Brad was, and I just feel like I will never get an opportunity?
That's a great question. And I thought about this because I think one of the biggest things that I would tell someone who has self-doubt, limiting beliefs is you number one, you got to pay attention. And I think this is one thing that, especially in our society right now, with social media being so relevant, data that's being shot at you, it does not allow people to take a minute to really think about what is possible. And, you know, I'm a firm believer, if you take a minute and just pay attention and figure out what your success code is, right? For me, I had to figure out what my success code was. Number one, I have to work out. Like, if I don't work out, that's part of me creating the physiological change in my body to get the ticker going, right? Because when the body's good, the mind tends to follow where the body goes. And that's, I feel absolutely confident that those two things can help realign your thought process. Second thing is change the conversation, right? Change the conversation in two formats. Number one, the conversation with yourself, the self-talk, what you're feeding that RAS, what you're feeding your brain in that thought is what's going to manifest. So change that conversation, right?
Just that 3 foot radius, man. Like, your kindness, your hard work, your positivity. Don't underestimate what any one of your tools can do, even to just a person next to you, man. Like, everybody wants to either be big, Jeff Bezos big, or not at all, you know, and like, there's no interim, and it's not true. And that's not how you get to be Jeff Bezos in the first place, or you. I mean, think about it, right? Like, how many coaching things have you done? But the bottom line is just don't underestimate your impact. And if it truly is who you are, man, you're going to be bleeding that every day, and you're going to be practicing your impact wherever you have opportunity throughout your day. And just give it whatever it is, whatever you have that day, even if it's just a smile, a hand, just give it, right? Like, and it's more for you than you might realize. But I think that's just been the root of the Marines. It's been the root of everything we do with our company, man, is just having each other's back and just give.
But for you, there had to have been a moment where you were watching on TV or a friend challenged you, I got to hear this. And then you told yourself, because what comes out of our mouth goes into our ears. That's what we believe that drives our action, which is exactly what you just said. So tell me the American Ninja Warrior, like, how did that go down?
My wife, she filled out the application without me knowing it. She just like, she likes to put me in funny positions, like figure it all out. So we'd come back into some weird trip and like she filled it out. I was like, hey, I need you to do this video real quick for this TV show. I was like, whatever. And I thought it was Wipeout, where like they have like a bunch of guys speaking there for, you know. So I get a call like 3 months later. Now, just, you know, American Ninja Warrior, talking like 5'8", 9 guys, rock climbers. They're not big people, you know, or they're really, if they are tall, they're super skinny. They don't have a lot of bottom heavy like me. I played linebacker in the NFL. And so I get a call out of the blue and they're like, hey, we're gonna have you on the show in about, 30 days. I got a cool story. So like, it would be good for the TV show portion. Now I found out later, they had no belief I would actually get through the obstacles. And neither did I, because I was 240 pounds when they called me. Wow. And I'm like 240. I'm a big dude. Like, I'm not supposed to be hanging by my hands, let alone jumping from bar to bar. And so I spent 30 days just grinding, because in my head I figured, well, I'm going to be on national TV and my identity is I don't look stupid. I tell my kids, our family motto is trucksters don't just show up, they show out. Like in everything we do, we don't just show up to these things, we show out. So what do we got to do to show out? So my mind was what I got to do. First thing was I got to lose some weight as best I can, lose some weight. 2, I might want to go and try this stuff first before I go on national television, right? So I found a local gym. I drive to the gym. My elbow started hurting because I wasn't used to hanging. I got about 7 hours of time. But here's what took place. I got to the show and I did an interview and the guys were like, all right, go hit a buzzer. I'm like, I'm going to. Because in my head, I'm like, that's exactly what I'm here to do. And they go, sure, okay. And you could tell in their head, like, he's not going to do it. And like you said, most people would go like, oh, not even the guys who are the guys who do this believe in me. Why should I believe in me? And my thing was like, I'm about to prove you wrong, man. Here we go, And sure enough, I go up the next day, and then I go on the first thing to the rope swing thing, and I almost fell off. Now I come to find most former football guys, they don't make it past 2 obstacles. Most guys fall off because they're not used to doing this stuff. So I'm like, I got to get past 2 obstacles. I get past the first one. Okay, good. Second one, good. There's 6 in the first round, by the way. Then 4th one, then 5th one, get to the last one. Guys I had been training with, who were training me, had got to this obstacle and fallen off. In my head, I'm gassed. I'm tired. I'm heavy. I don't even know how I got here. I almost fell off the blocks into the water on one. I did like this weird form. So I get up, bro. I get across it, get up the wall. And I hit the buzzer. First former NFL athlete to hit a buzzer, right? It was not the norm. And for me, the only difference was at no time did I, in my head, question. People will be like, never? I'd be like, no, because here's the thing. What story you tell yourself, you'll find a way to make right.
What does legacy mean to you?
I always want to be able to say that, and I don't remember why this analogy stuck in my head, but it was Les Brown who said it. And he was talking about being on your deathbed and all the ghosts of the gifts that you could have had in your life or around you telling you, why didn't you use me? I was given to you. And just knowing what you were capable of as a human, and having to have that conversation of, I could have used you. I could have used you. You could have given these gifts to the world, and these gifts and these gifts and these gifts. And I don't know why that story stuck with me so strongly. But I always have thought about that of, we're never blessed to know what's going to happen today. I mean, we've learned that hard the last year. Right? We don't know if our entire business is going to get shut down. Everything we've built with everything that we've got for the last however many years you're doing whatever it is you're doing. You don't know if you're going to wake up, period. You might not have breath tomorrow. So if you have it today, you owe it to yourself to get better and find out what those gifts were given, because I personally feel it's one of the most selfish things the human being can do is to take the gifts, and I'm a believer in faith, but to take the gifts that God gave you and do nothing with them. I think that is the ultimate sin. And to me, that scares the hell out of me, because I know that it took me a long time to get my shit together. And now it's one of those things where I look every single day at, man, there's a guy out there that I'm chasing, and there's dreams that I do not want to my deathbed. I want those dreams to pat me on the shoulder and say, I'm so thankful that I got to meet you and that I got to be put out in this world. I don't want them over my shoulder going, why didn't you unleash me?
But, for me, I didn't do it alone. I had a team around me. I had people who pushed me along the way, and you can't go through life alone. You can only go so far by yourself. And today we kind of have this society of like this lone wolf mentality, but really, if you really want to realize your potential and exceed expectations, you got to team up with people. You got to get with people who are going to push you, encourage you, love on you. Because for me, I have to depend on people. I can't get up in the morning. I can't go into bed. I can't get food or water without depending on somebody to be there for me and to ask for help. And so I've gotten really comfortable asking for help when I need it. Obviously, I don't want help. I gotta do things myself, but there are times when you gotta have that courage to be vulnerable, to be willing to, swallow your pride and just show what you don't know, and just ask for that help.
Because I've admired this about you. There's just a level of intentionality, and you often refer to it as your rhythm, right? Understanding the rhythm of what's going to make you successful and being intentional enough to identify all the little things that are going to do it. But I also wanted you to go with the answer, and I'm going to pull this out of you, is your family history. Can you tell us a little bit about your family history, how your family came to the United States, and how that burn or that brick by brick mentality for you was established in your career and life?
Yeah, so, we immigrated here from Brazil in 1994. I was 7. And that's always been the biggest fire in my life, because I think through the sacrifices my parents have made, I think through everything that they have done for me and my sister from early on, right? So they left everything they knew. They left their family, they left their house, and they moved to the United States, not so that they could have a better life, but so that my sister and I could have the potential opportunity of a better life. So who am I to squander that sacrifice and not take advantage of that opportunity, right? And I used to think through, and still to this day, think about the hardest parts of my day. Like when I really have a hard day, it doesn't even come close to comparing to the sacrifices and the tough moments and choices that my parents went through. So when they moved here, they didn't know anybody. They didn't know where we were going to live. They didn't have any money. They didn't speak the language, right? So I just think through how I have kids, and I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old and one on the way. And I'm thinking to myself, would I move to, I don't know, Ukraine today for a better opportunity for my kids where I don't know the language, I don't know anybody? I mean, that's sacrifice. So for me, if the hardest part of my day is making some cold calls or dealing with tough conversations, that's nothing.
All right. I would say I always start my mornings with find another way. I always tell myself, find another way, because that opens your mind up to possibilities to find a different way in your day. Because if exercise or if something, like taking care of yourself just isn't a priority, there's got to be another way to motivate yourself to do it. I would also say that, be accountable, first of all, to yourself and choose that for yourself and set yourself as your first priority. I always talk about people of guilt for, putting and investing time and money into themselves. So it's get away the guilt, right? Take away the guilt and just really understand that really by taking care of ourselves, we ultimately take care of everything else in our lives. And it has huge impact on our children, on our business relationships, on our family and our friendships. And so it really is up to you, right? If you're on the sideline and you're watching life and you're admiring from afar, right? You got to get in there, right? You got to get in there, hold the ball. Maybe you don't run with it the first day, just look at it, look at the leather on the ball, whatever it is. Right? And then maybe, you start learning some moves, right? But the thing is just to be accountable for yourself and, do it today. Life is too short. And I guess that's my biggest message is we just don't know when our life is going to flash in front of us. So being super grateful if you have a choice and the abilities to move. I always say this in my teachings. You have to be super grateful for that, because this opportunity for you to move and think on your own can be taken away from you in a millisecond.
It was the ups, the downs, whatever, he was the same. And I think that sometimes people just need that consistent figure behind the scenes who's like, hey, I need nothing from you. I'm here to pour into you. I'm here to give back to you. And I want you to perform at your highest level, at your most optimal level. So at the root of it, it's still the service. Like, I want to see other people succeed. And I think in order to achieve that, I think everybody has a unique purpose. And your unique purpose is tied to your unique identity, your unique needs, your unique dreams, your unique desires, right? And in the world that we live in, sometimes we get away from our uniqueness and we kind of forget who we are and we get caught up in everything else. So that's one of the main things that I do, is help people realize how unique they are, help them realize what we need to do to help them achieve their unique purpose. Because at the end of the day, there's only one Ben Newman, and you were put on this earth to do something specifically that only you can do. So my role is to help you make sure that you achieve what only you can do. Because if you don't, you rob the world of the fruit that only you can provide.
And, you know, one of the things that I often say to people is, you know, for me, this is personally for me, the way that I stay balanced the best is to go fast. You know, I compare it to riding a bicycle. If I'm going slow, man, it's wobbly, right? I don't feel right. It doesn't feel like I have balance. But if I'm going full throttle, man, every day, from the time that I open my eyes until the time that I go to sleep, I feel a tremendous amount of balance, because I'm playing offense. I'm being intentional, and I'm making decisions that fit into the things that I want for my life. And so, you know, I try to get better and better. We were just talking before we came on here about, you know, being able to say no to the things that don't fit. And I think that as people figure that out, as people realize that not everything is going to fit into the model of what your life you want to look like. It's not always going to fit. And when you learn how to say no to things, you can find that balance of being able to do what most people would consider impossible, which is, you know, having a family, having multiple businesses, and being able to spend quality time with your spouse and your kids and juggle all these other things at the same time. But it comes down to the decisions that you make and the action that you take on a regular basis. And especially when you don't feel like it, you know, how you show up when those days that are really tough arrive is what separates, to me, the good from the great, and the people that actually have the ability to find balance and those that talk about it.
Our greatest promise.
Say that again.
If you do what you fear the most, there's nothing you can't do. Our greatest promise lies within our greatest pain. God put the best in life on those side of fear. If it's not making you uncomfortable, you're not going to grow. Growth and comfort zones cannot coexist. So I avoided that pain, that fear, embarrassment. Bro, when I was 27 years old, I went to speech therapy. Like, I had to humble myself. And then therapy. And then I did Toastmasters for 3 years, where that's a club where you practice giving speeches every single week. And my first speech was not good. I just kept showing up, man. Discipline kept showing up, keep getting better, keep pounding that stone. As you talked about Kansas State, keep pounding that stone every day. And what's awesome is, I think your burn and your passion should really come from pain, because nature has given us two drivers, pleasure and pain. Most of us just focus on the pleasure. Hey, go to that pain point. That is an uncommon driver to overcome. So
it's where you find your greatest strength, which then leads to your greatest opportunity. Because I want to tie this together, because there's a lot of people right now, they're sitting on that fence of indecision. They're waiting on that sideline. Do I go into the game? Do I take the action? So whatever challenges you have, listen to what Colin just said. Couldn't speak. And then he's a humble guy, but now listen to this client list: Microsoft, Zillow, Nike, Amazon, all the amazing teams that you worked with, work that you've done with Russell Wilson. I mean, it's incredible, the resume. He couldn't speak.
I was actually sexually trafficked by my parents for 20 years of my life. And it started at age 4 and continued till after I was married. I can guarantee every city has this going on in their neighborhoods. And you never know who it is not your stereotypical, oh, that looks like a bad guy, that must be a bad guy. My family looked very clean, very put together, very religious, just very straight arrows. And so I think everybody just needs to be aware that this is a possibility and this happens in your own neighborhood. And we can't get it to stop, and we can't bring awareness if people don't talk about it. And if people aren't willing to go on their platforms like you, Ben, my voice can't be heard if others aren't willing to share it. And kids can't get protected unless they hear what is happening in their neighborhoods.
It's all about your habits and your disciplines with your money. You said it best. If you can't manage $1,000, you can't manage $1 million. Money is an emotional sport. You are playing a game every single day, and then it's a mental game in your own head. Money is all about how you feel in that moment. I'm sure you could tell me a few times where you've been really excited and spent a little too much money, or you've been a little sad and spent too much money. It's all about how you discipline your money game. And are you sticking every day to your plan? I tell everyone I work with this, and don't get me wrong, I work with guys that make millions of dollars. But I've seen first round draft picks blow all their money, and guys that are on P Squad making $160,000 a year retire with 6 houses and a retirement fund. So they're making less, but they end up with more. And it's all habits. It's all, what are you doing with your money every day? And it starts with your budget.
We are in a world where we all have these things, right? So we can get any answer that we want within seconds. And we have, as humans, we've literally psychologically got to this point where we think things work like this. And especially successful business people like you and I, like I wouldn't think you and I are neither one patient people by nature, right? No, like that's not how we're wired. That's not who we are. And I'm mostly dealing with very high level entrepreneurs up to, $300, $350 million corporations. The leadership of those corporations are not patient people. Entrepreneurs that are successful are not patient people. You're talking about high level achievers, right? And with digital marketing, especially with ads. So when we talk about running ads on Facebook, we talk about running Google ads. There's this misconception of, I can go build out an e-commerce store and sell t-shirts, okay? I can go build out an apparel line and I can go run ads and I'm just gonna make money. And it's just gonna sell like hell. Good luck, that's what I would say, okay? Does it work like that sometimes? Yes, very, very rarely. But you have to build a brand, and building a brand and having brand recognition takes time.
I can tell you, number one, isolation is the enemy of excellence. You work with amazing teams, and unfortunately there are so many men out there that they live mentally and emotionally isolated. And that ego just protects us. We actually take such pride in lone wolfing it, right? Like, I'm the lone wolf, I'm strong. If most men knew what happened to the lone wolf, they wouldn't like the lone wolf, right? Because the lone wolf, they leave the pack because they're going to go die, or they've lost the pack and they're going to die. Either way, they die. And most men don't know that. They're like, oh, I'm a strong lone wolf. A lone wolf is not strong. The wolf is strong because of the pack, and the pack is strong because of the wolf. So, like, what I can tell you is men love to answer every single question with 3 words: good, fine, busy. Good, fine, busy. They like to keep that. If I keep everybody out here, they're not going to really know like how crazy things are. And don't get me wrong. There's good things, right? There are really good things that happen in men's lives, but also there's a lot of things that we take on that we don't allow other people in to give us a point in the right direction. That you came on my show, you talked about the power of mentorship and the power of coaching, and someone in your life, and it doesn't have to be even like a coach. It could be someone just point you in the right direction. And that, like, isolation is the enemy of excellence, has been absolutely huge.
What is your legacy going to be? Right, being a champion, more hours in the octagon, but what's the legacy for you? What's the real impact you want to leave behind?
Yeah, I just want to, like, when I fight, people always say, I fight with a lot of heart, and that means a lot to me because I take my craft seriously. I put everything into it. And I go into every fight thinking I'm going to win, and I haven't won every fight, obviously. So, sometimes when you walk away from those fights, they definitely hurt. And, but I wouldn't change it for anything. This is who I am. And the fact that people look at me as a guy that never backed down, or will always stand up to, or, you know, fight anybody and fight tooth and nail. I don't just go in there to go through the, you know, to punch in the clock and just say I was there. I go in there to make sure I do it right and give it my all. So, you know, for my kids watching or other kids at home, you know, whatever you do, just make sure you give it your all and just try your best.
The truth is the day you were born, you know, I'm not talking to Ben right now. I'm talking to you. The day you were born, the day the doctor smacked you on the butt, it was now your job to reach your potential. And you had people there feeding you. You had people there clothing you. You had people changing your diaper. You had people teaching you how to walk, and eventually you began to run. And so that's the metaphor for life, right? It is your job to reach your potential, which means you have to create the right environment, the right support network. You have to have the right people around you so that you reach your potential. And so my biggest question is, are you still dreaming? Right? Do you still have that same dream you had when you were 10, 11, 12, 13 years old? Or did you get realistic? You know, I hear parents sometimes tell their kids, don't get your hopes up. You know, I don't want my kid to get their hopes up. Man, that's all we got is hope, right? That's what I live by, hope. And so I want you to keep dreaming. I want you to keep hoping. I want you to keep wishing, but I want you to understand it is your job to reach your potential. And I want you to make sure you got to do whatever is necessary. See, sometimes you want something bad, but you're not willing to do what is necessary to get it. I wanted the NBA bad, right? And I got in my own way. Now listen to coaches, and I was willing to do what was necessary to make sure that I reached my potential in basketball. And so when I got into business, it was the same formula. I got around mentors. I got around coaches. We hired business coaches. My wife and I spent a lot of money helping ourselves develop as business people because we recognize if we reach our potential as business people, the money will follow, right? So
yes, the book is going to help because, and again, it was my goal to write a book that was not a SEAL book. It wasn't about Navy SEALs. It wasn't about super performers. It was really about the reader. And I think that those who read the book will understand it when they start reading it. They're like, hey, this is about me. It's not about anybody else. The attributes are about ourselves and our own engines, right? I always say we're all human, right? So we kind of use the automobile analogy. We're all autos, we're all cars, okay? But some of us are Jeeps and some of us are Ferraris and some of us are SUVs. Now, there's no judgment in that because the Jeep can do things the Ferrari can't do and the Ferrari can do things the Jeep can't do. The key, however, is to lift our hoods and figure out what engine we are because we all show up to the game with specific strengths and weaknesses and specific levels of these attributes. And if we understand those levels, we can then say, wait a second, some of the reason why I'm struggling is because I'm a Jeep that's trying to run on a Ferrari track, or I'm a Ferrari trying to run on a Jeep track, which is okay, by the way, because just that knowledge will say, okay, I'm a Jeep that wants to run on a Ferrari track, so what do I need to do better on the Ferrari track? Or you say, wait a second, I actually would rather be on the Jeep track, right? So we all have the potential to excel in whatever context we want to excel, but we're all designed to excel in certain contexts, right? I mean,
things happen for you, not to you. So it's finding out, why did this happen for me? Where can I grow from this? And there's lessons that can be learned from this pain. So gain some perspective initially, which is easier said than done. It takes some internal work. You need to examine your gifts and what are you good at? So at that point for me, you know, I had a lot of national media members reaching out to me and said, hey, Eric, you were extremely cordial to me. You're well-spoken. If you ever need anything in this business, let me know. So I pivoted into broadcasting initially because it kept me around the game that I was not ready to be away from. So I work for the Buffalo Bills radio network now, so I get to cover the Bills, which is a ton of fun. And then it's more work on the ESPN and ACC network side, learning 100-man college rosters and figuring out who's going to play. And you got multiple numbers on guys, but that's a ton of fun as well. And I get to be around the game. But ultimately for me, it's about finding ways that you can serve others using your gifts. So for me now, it's how can I use my gifts of communication and being relational and connecting with people.
And so we were climbing this rock face together, and he said, we should try something bigger. And I thought, well, would it be like a little bigger rock face? He said, how about Denali? And I thought, what's Denali? Denali is a 20,300 foot glaciated peak, tallest peak in North America. So I got swept away. one of my qualities, maybe good qualities, is being impressionable. Because I was like, that sounds kind of cool. It sounds hard as hell, and I don't know much about big mountains, but if you want to, you know, kind of guide me through this journey together, I'm in. And so, yeah, we started training for 1.5 years, and the next thing you knew, we struggled our way up Denali and summited June 27th. I think it was Helen Keller's birthday when we stood on top. So I've had these great mentors right from the very beginning. I've attracted these great friends and people who say, hey, you know, I don't know how far we can take this, but we'll go as far as we can, and we'll sort of build this process together. And then PV the same way, getting down from Mount Everest. Literally, I just come through the Khumbu Icefall, which is, you know, a blind person's worst nightmare. Jumbled up boulders of ice of every size imaginable exploding down the mountain. You know, the ice fall moves about 1 meter a day. And so I had just gotten through that. I was so happy to be alive and healthy and everything. And I'd lost like 40 pounds. And PV says, don't let this mountain be the greatest thing you ever do. And I'm like, that's the worst time motivational advice I've ever heard in my life, man. Like, I need to go home and rest a little bit. But what he was talking about was the fact that, you know, challenge can be a barrier, but also success can be a barrier. And,
you know, one thing I did have, though, I'll say this, Ben, is I had a real sense of amnesia after the game. Like, I could have that 3 interception game, 22 tackles, and everybody's patting me on the back after the game. And what used to go through my mind was, okay, but I missed 2 tackles. I gave up a big play on a 7 route. Those are the negative parts of it used to always burn. And I don't know if I handled it the right way, but that's what used to burn in my mind. So when I see, even after having a good game, that night, I used to always be thinking, man, I can get better at this, brother. I can get better at this. So I couldn't wait to get to the next day. And even to the point, there were certain times, even the next day, after you had a great game, you know you never played a perfect game. So if someone ever said, I played the perfect game, I never had a misstep, I never did anything wrong, call BS on it, especially at the professional level. That ain't happening because it just doesn't happen that way. So that was my challenge of, okay, yesterday happened, I had a pretty good game, but I want to see how do I get better? What are the mistakes that I'm making, and how can I lift myself up the next day?
What helped me was I started using visualization negatively. I started thinking about, okay, well, what about when I'm at the end of my days, when I'm about to die, and I'm looking back and reflecting on life? Like, I will be totally cool if I didn't achieve my goals, as long as I knew I did every fucking thing that I could to make it happen. But I would be absolutely miserable if I knew I'd left something on the table and I didn't achieve it because I didn't go all the way in, and because I wasn't living in my burn because I was too fucking scared. And that scares me more than anything else. And so that pain helped me step into that. And maybe that might help you too if you're going through that.
Oh, I love that right there. We're going to give the dogs the...
Yes, I got it one time.
There's people listening right now that hear this, and they're scared. They're stuck in a chapter of their life where they think it's over. This is it. Why isn't my life better? How did I get here? You gave yourself permission
100%
to listen to the voice.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, what was the burn? What was the fire? What was the motivation that said, I'm finally going to give myself permission? Even though I could be comfortable here, just like so many people listen, they could go, I'm comfortable now.
Yeah.
What was that fire or burn that said, you know what, I'm going to listen and I'm going to give myself permission?
I think, well, I know, number one, I'm not comfortable at all. Just so we're clear, right? Like the last thing that I am every single day when I get up and go to war with this voice and the person who I am, I'm not comfortable at all, right? A lot of shit that I do, it makes me not coming. We're launching a lifestyle brand. I don't know jack shit about launching a lifestyle brand, but the voice is screaming at me, this is what you need to do. So I go find the right people and I put them in place, and we have conversations, and I'm like, we're building this bitch. I don't know how it's going to work or what's going to happen, but we're building this bitch, right? So that's number one. Number two, the burn in me is, dude, I cannot. I don't know that I could ever look at myself in the mirror and be okay with that man. If I didn't build this, because my 2 little girls watch me all the time.
When I think of you and this concept of a winning streak, what I love about you in a winning streak is that you have not been seduced by the success of winning. You've fallen in love with winning and helping others. And I think there's such a valuable lesson there. So am I onto something here? How much of your burn comes from just that service to others and not saying, man, we raised this much money today? It's literally the service of others.
Man, so first of all, like with the winning streak, like there was a point in my life where just like my frequency was losing. And I was 300 pounds with a brain tumor. So like, I feel like I'm losing. And even like my whole life was revolving around this like concept of like losing. I need to lose weight. This is just a word. I was like losing my whole life. And I got so tired of feeling like a loser, because it's like, you ever been to Vegas with a couple friends? One is like winning on the slots and then one is losing.
Absolutely.
And the person who's like winning is like this, like has this like gravitational attraction pull from everybody. And then the person who's losing, nobody wants to be around. And I realized in life, you really just see what you're looking at. And I decided I'm just going to become like delusionally optimistic. And I'm just going to start looking for the wins, because they're happening. The truth is, in each and every one of our lives, like we're winning and we're losing. Well, I'm going to see what I'm looking at. So it all started one morning. I was getting a cup of coffee and I ordered a latte, but I separated the ingredients because I was trying to lose weight. So I wanted a little bit less almond milk. So I said double shot of espresso on ice with a splash of almond milk and 2 raw sugars. And instead of the price being $5, which is a latte, the lady said, that'll be $2.47. And I said, all that happiness for only $2? I'm on a winning streak. And I found gratitude in the simplest thing, a cup of coffee being half the price. And then I was like, okay, I'm on a winning streak. I got to keep it going. So I found something else. I caught the green light, something simple, stupid. Like I got the green light, I'm on a winning streak. And then I would even be delusional about it. If I caught a red light, I'd be like, oh, well, I get to listen to my favorite song, in the car, because you ever like hear your favorite song, sit in the car a little bit longer to listen. I'm just like, find something to win, get the parking spot at the grocery store, the good one. I back into it. It's like, this is a winning streak. And like if you, one of your favorite teams is on an 8-game winning streak, what's your thought process?
You believe they're going to keep winning.
That's all you want.
Yeah.
9. When it's at 9, what's on your mind? 10. When it's at 10, what's on your mind? 11. And that's what I tried to do in my life, to where it was no longer about, did I win? Because the winning streak has to be renewed every day.